Alright, well, I'm gonna make a little video. I'm over here at the lake. Um, had some weird weather, and I haven't been feeling good the past few days. I actually didn't go outside for an entire day yesterday, and not just because of social distancing or lockdown, but I actually didn't mind staying in because it was one way of being social distanced. So, um, just trying to still make sense of what's going on. I guess they're going to start opening up the U.S. of A. again, um, starting in Florida and through to what was it? I don't know, Florida and Texas. That's a random organization of places and locales, but um, we'll see if that takes any toll on people again. Because I don't know, that's not necessarily confidence inspiring, considering that we've been put on lockdown, at least on this end of the continent, till the end of this month, which is a couple more weeks. And there's some places in California that are considered restricted from any gatherings um, through, I think, July. I think the end of July. So that's kind of unusual that the other end of the continent is all of a sudden being, cleared for people to start getting back to normal, which I mean is a good thing economically and for people that need to, work, but I hope it's not just stress and strain and people there's people losing their patience about this whole thing anyways because, they want to do what they're going to do anyways. So when it comes down to it, um, whoever is in the positions to make the big decisions is hopefully making the decisions for our the benefit of the many and not just the few. But who knows um, how many different ways we can look at this, and how many people are going to say half of it's fake, half of it's just a ploy to find out what we really are capable of doing without excess, or maybe it was a failed attempt to kind of restrict us to the point where it would limit our resources and put us in I don't know, jeopardy of our liberties. I don't know. Um, I guarantee you, there's been more than just me worrying about this time of any for some other country that's either a superpower or not, um, to try and take advantage of um, our situation where we're at, except that the same thing's happening all over the world. It's just doing this slow, literally seems like a 4 to 5 week um, wave of chaos, uh, physically, and I'm sure mentally and psychologically, to people to have such a broad spectrum of fault to be passed around and not really any definite perpetrator, except for maybe some group of people who got out of a controlled environment or facility that were exposed to something either they weren't supposed to be exposed to or they were exposed to, like lab rats or monkeys, and escaped. I don't know. Um, there's so many stories and speculation, and it's gone from us being told by our own president and the people in charge of making him sound like he knows what he's talking about or not, saying that, you know, be guaranteed between 100,000 and 200,000 people are going to perish from this pandemic, even if we do everything we're supposed to be doing. And you and me both know there's a pretty good percentage of people who ain't doing nothing they're supposed to be doing. And there might be some people who are doing more than they need to be doing, which is going to be kind of difficult considering the restrictions. But now that number's been cut. The lower number, the more conservative number, has almost been cut completely in half. Now it's down to 60,000 people that are going to, you know, eventually be the death toll. Um, so, I don't know what to believe because I get my information from people that tell me what they've heard and see either from the media or from other sources. And then I have other people that are in the know that are in positions that it can't be taken lightly, that they're telling the public what they're telling me or who they've talked to before me. And some of the things that they've said is going to happen could still be happening, might not have happened yet, or they might not happen at all. Like the restrictions on um, restocking alcohol, drinking alcohol for human consumption, and then other types of alcohol that could be used for propellants. Um, or what I heard was they were trying to restrict not only people from being able to become intoxicated, but also from having propellants to make into any incendiary devices. I can't pronounce that word. Incendiary, whatever. Explosives or fire bombs or Molotov cocktails, what have you. And the reason they were doing that was because the next wave or stage would be them consolidating the resources from the major grocery stores, which were a primary necessity of um, product that people would need above and beyond the other stuff people would go shopping for. Well, they were going to consolidate those items, mainly just groceries and foods and stuff like that, into two or three stores every few square miles. And they were concerned about people looting, freaking out, um, and maybe causing, riots and chaos. And I guess the assumption was that people who are not intoxicated and drinking aren't going to be causing as many problems. Or the offshoot was is that people who don't have anything better to do because they're not going to work and the children aren't going to school, that it would avoid people having gatherings outside, drinking alcohol and partying and stuff, because the gatherings of people has been a problem, and also the social distancing has also been kind of lax. I mean, we've gotten to the point now where you're supposed to wear the face masks whenever you're in public, but I've still gone into stores um, that have been lax on that also. I've walked into stores that, and I'm not going to name what they are or even what products they sell, but I've gone into several places where the people and the patrons aren't wearing masks, um, and was made completely clear that at some point there was going to be a policing involved of these places, merchants that are not abiding or applying the personal protection um, and the social distancing would be closed down. So, I mean, guess it really all depends on the necessity of the actual items that are being purchased there, opposed to the risks and safety by how many people go in there and what the products are they're buying. I mean, if you're buying groceries and products that are going to immediately go from hand to mouth, like food, that's one thing. If you're going to like a hardware store or an auto parts store to buy supplies, I mean, hopefully nobody's going to stick a brake shoe in their mouth, a brake pad in their mouth, mistaking it for a candy bar. But I can understand that thing that places that aren't selling, merchants that aren't selling food products, and things of that sort, um, could be there could be a little more leniency on that. So, um, but gas stations, uh, they're not only selling products for consumption of the person, but the gas pumps are getting touched, you know, 400 or 500 times a day each nozzle. The door handles of the stores, the card readers, the buttons on the card readers, um, the soda fountain machines. I mean, you've just got literally a plethora of items and surfaces made of all different materials that are already been considered a breeding or even not a breeding ground because it doesn't. Well, I don't know. It breeds in the body, but wherever it's being uh, whatever materials are being exposed to it. Some of them, like the smooth, hard materials, especially stainless steel, they say, and a lot of smooth, glossy plastics, for some reason or what, can harbor the virus for longer periods of time than something porous. Um, so who knows? We'll see if all these things. And the other thing they're talking about now is that the virus that has been already contracted to people who've either come down with the symptoms and gone through what they were susceptible of with the virus, and fought it, um, or just people who had it and their body fought it without them succumbing to all these um, deathly prominent symptoms, have antibodies in them now that have learned the virus and are now ready to contest it and fight it at any given time. So I don't know whether they're going to try and make um, a vaccine from antibodies from people who've already um, been exposed and had the virus in and out of their system, or they said there's some type of medication that they gave to a lot of, I guess it was voluntary participants who had the virus, and they got better, but without any real clinical trials or anything to compare it to. Like if they had done several different, like they were going to use some of the medicines that were to combat malaria, I guess, supposedly. If I remember correctly, those were the ones that were going to work the best um, for people. And uh, who knows if that worked or not because we haven't had clinical trials. And there are some scary stories that I've heard and read literally in the past 6 or 7 months that have nothing to do with this virus that we have. It was some testing that they were doing on a group of men. I think it was just men, and a couple of them died. Uh, at the least, um, all of them became violently ill, and many of them that didn't die have permanent, um, either chronic to severe disabilities and damage to their organs and to their whole livelihood because of this clinical trials they went through. And there's something that's been changed because of that. But there is a story about that on YouTube. I don't remember exactly what they were testing for, but I know it was predominantly men that they were testing this medication of some sort on. So, um, there's no telling what we're actually going to have to work with in this period of time of question, where the people in the position to make the decisions that we are supposed to abide to for our safety have renegotiated how dangerous our situation is. Um, I mean, I always consider, err in the way of caution above anything when it comes to a physical threat. But, I'm not the one in the position to make those decisions, nor would I want to be. So I'm just going to be as careful as I can be, probably well beyond the necessity for um, these people of power to require it. It's going to change the way a lot of people do things and think, and what they consider important and not important, and necessities over um, wants and desires, and sacrifices over compromises. Because we all know compromises are just decisions that we really don't want to make, but we're going to because of something else that we want. Um, Sacrifices are something that we have to do, or we're going to lose something very significant. And we've had to make a lot of sacrifices where people don't even want to compromise sometimes this day and age, um, especially on this side of the continent. It seems there's a little bit more charmed lifestyles, to say the least. And I hope it's going to open some eyes and have some people that have taken more than enough stuff for granted for more than long enough to learn what we actually have that we're entitled to, not just what they think they're entitled to, because people have gotten tired of telling them no. That's like that's that's like one of the biggest profane words now. It seems anymore. People telling their kids no, or somebody else telling their kids no, or someone telling an adult no, and the adult acting like a kid being told no. Um, no is not a vulgar word, but people just don't want to hear no. They won't accept no anymore. They won't accept being confined. They won't accept taking responsibility for their own and other people's health and safety, um, if it's going to be a sacrifice of their fun and luxury. I mean, studies have shown that majority of Californians, and not just Californians, but majority of Californians, are about 4 to 5 paychecks away from being homeless. So if they lost their job within probably about a month, or 2 or 3 months, because you figure most people get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So you figure about 2.5 months after not working or not receiving a paycheck, that they wouldn't have the money to pay for their rent or their mortgage or their utilities or their groceries, their insurance, their registration. All this stuff is expensive. But the fact that people are that close to being completely wiped out by their own financial responsibilities, not to mention how much credit card debt. I mean, this stimulus that we're going to be getting sent, um, a lot of people have already gotten it who do electronic filing. I don't, because I kind of live in a cave. So, heck, half the country will probably be open again before I get a check. Um, and who knows how much I'll get, anyways. But there's people who are so far into debt where it's actually unreconcilable debt. In other words, it's you know they're they're actively being called by collectors. Um, their money's going to go straight to the actual banks that they owe money to. If they're overdrawn with or have multiple credit cards with. So you see where I'm going with this. So we'll see how it works out and see what happens. But yeah, I'm not I'm looking forward to this getting over with, but I'm not looking forward to them alleviating some conditions and stipulations before it's really safe to do so. So, all right, well, you guys have a good rest of your weekend. It's Sunday where I'm at, and I got some things I'm going to try to do, but I'm still trying to recover from being sick for the past day and a half. So I didn't get sick with the virus. I just have some other issues that the weather flip flopping back and forth are doing to me. Barometric pressure and allergies and a whole bunch of other silly stuff. So I'm going to try and get some stuff done today, but we'll see. I'm feeling rather peaked right now. All right, I'll talk to you guys later.